Hello and welcome to Bottom Line. Well, tonight we're discussing two issues. First will be the ILP issue in Meghalaya. In the second half, we'll go to the Manipur college teachers strike. The college teachers under the banner of Fegokta have been carrying out a strike for the last 1 month, of course, in support of their various demands. But before that, let's start with the ILP issue in Meghalaya. A recent media report had created much of a confusion, which said that the center has allegedly, of course, said that both 6th schedule and ILP cannot be given together. Meghalaya, of course, is a 6th schedule state. The state government, the very next day, Deputy Chief Minister dismissed the reports, rubbished the reports, and as far as we are getting to know, none of the pressure groups, none of the stakeholders are also taking the report very seriously. But once again, in all this, the question that is being raised just ahead of Union Home Minister Amit Shah's proposed visit to Shillong next month is that, is the ILP issue set to linger, or the visit of Amit Shah will once and for all close the issue, take a call, and things will be crystal clear? What do the stakeholders think? What do the pressure groups think? What does the opposition think about it? These are some of the questions that we will look into to get some answers tonight. And I'm being joined from Shillong for the discussion by CoMSO chairperson Robert June Kharjahrin, who is joining me from Shillong. Senior Congress legislator Ampareen Lyngdoh is also joining me from Shillong. Sadon Blah of the HNYF is also connected with us from Shillong. A very warm welcome to all of you. If I can go to Robert June Kharjahrin first of the CoMSO. Mr. Kharjahrin, the media report had created a sensation, but I'm sure it hasn't had much of an impact because it's almost devoid of logic probably for the center to say anything like this. What is your personal opinion on this?
First of all, we can neither deny nor confirm the media report which has been highlighted, especially on Mopor that day, because we don't know what is the discussion that is been talking. And from the state also only the CM and Deputy CM is attending from the union government. And importantly, the media report did not quote the source. So we cannot say that did not happen, and neither confirm that yes, it's happening. But nevertheless, as a discussion relating to the issue, we do feel that ILP should not be linked with 6th schedule in the state of Meghalaya. Even though there is no doubt that 6th schedule was implemented in the state of Meghalaya with an aim and objective for the protection, preservation of identity of the indigenous people, for the protection of land, forests, and importantly, 6th schedule also play a very important in protection of the traditional institution, especially in the grassroots governance. But if we compare these two operate differently and in different manners. ILP has a mandate to regulate entry and settlement of outsiders into the state of Meghalaya, which in a long way ensure that the demographic structure of the tribal populace in the state is kept in balance. And this council has been there for a very long time years, and it has done its duty to a large extent. So if we look at the other ILP state also, like Mizoram, it has both ILP and 6th schedule, and also Article 371G. And if you go at Nagaland, they have 371A with ILP, and Arunachal, it has Article 371H plus ILP. And recently, the Legislative Assembly of Arunachal has unanimously passed a resolution to further strengthen Article 371H, and also included Arunachal within the 6th schedule. And Manipur also has Article 371C, which meant for the protection of the tribal in the hill area of Manipur plus ILP. So I did not see that that 6th schedule is something that need to be linked with ILP, because ILP will operate differently and sixth schedule will has its own rule to protect the identity, the land, the culture of the indigenous people in the state of Meghalaya.
Ampareen lyngdoh, it is said there is no smoke without fire. What I'm trying to say here is that, well, keeping the report apart, we are not getting much into that report, but is it indicative? Is it indicative of the kind of apprehension that is still there, despite the state government saying it is on the job and that ILP will be implemented? Despite that, these kind of reports, do you think it's indicative of the apprehension that is still there surrounding the ILP implementation, possible ILP, proposed ILP implementation?
Firstly, I want to thank you for calling me to your show, number one. Number two, pretty much I'm on the same page with Robert Jude. And in response to your question, whether or not there was a speculation in the media and whether or not the sources are confirmed and are true, the very fact that the ILP agenda has not yet been addressed by the government of India all the way back from last year is in itself indicative of the kind of apprehension and the kind of resistance that is there with regards to the implementation of the ILP in the state of Meghalaya. Now, Meghalaya, this is not the first time that we have gone to the government of India with regards to the implementation of ILP in the state of Meghalaya. In fact, so many governments in the past have tried to pressurize the government of India into allowing the implementation of ILP in our state. So there is no confusion about that. The very fact that government is still in a denial mode as to whether or not we will be given the ILP is a writing on the wall and is seen and understood by the public of the state of Meghalaya. So I wouldn't like to press further, having seen that the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister has denied that source. For the people of Meghalaya, the wait continues. And this wait, this prolonged waiting is going to be causing a lot of unnecessary deterrence in the faith reposed on this government to deliver to the people the aspiration which has been corresponded with the unanimity of a resolution on the floor of the House. So that debate continues, and maybe there could be some truth in this interpretation by the government of India. But like our friend on the same platform has just explained, they are two different things. The sixth schedule is something else. It looks into other areas of governance. And the ILP is also a different entity on its own. So that's what I have to say at this point of time.
Absolutely. Sadon Blah of the HNYF, the same question to you. We all know about the recent report that was published in a local daily about the centre allegedly asking the state government to choose between the sixth schedule and the ILP. The state government, of course, has completely denied any such thing. And as I have already mentioned, it may not be really wise to believe in such reports unless we hear it from the horse's mouth. But all said and done, again, the same question that I've been asking my panelists, are there strong indications that the ILP, that getting the ILP implemented is not going to be simple as far as Meghalaya is concerned?
I mean, understanding the delay, the mentality of the central government, since this issue of ILP has been put in front of the central government. Yes, it is indicative that the central government is not willing to give ILP to the state of Meghalaya. But having said that, I mean, since the state government has rubbished the report that the central government has said so, that we have to make a choice between ILP and the sixth schedule. I mean, we cannot jump to any conclusion on this subject based on news report which specifically the state government as a stakeholder on this matter has played down on it.
Rightly mentioned, we
Yes.
cannot jump to conclusions. But again, Sadon Blah, coming to Amit Shah's visit, how hopeful or how apprehensive at the same time are the pressure groups about the Union Home Minister's proposed visit to Meghalaya for 2 days in March, which is being seen as that moment when probably the picture will be absolutely clear as far as the ILP is concerned?
Yes, I mean, luckily we have another news report that Amit Shah is going to visit the state of Meghalaya sometime soon. And it is also based on the news report that he is going to come to Meghalaya with a purpose to have a proper discussion, a direct discussion with the stakeholders, including the NGO and the state government regarding the implementation of ILP. So coming to that, we have a high expectation instead of apprehension. We have a high expectation that if the visit of the Home Minister really happens, then we can pin our hope on his visit and on him as the Home Minister of India to give a patient hearing and to really understand the mood of the people of Meghalaya, that we need a law to regulate to regulate influx so as to protect the demography of the state.
High expectations from the visit of the Union Home Minister. Robert June Kharjahrin, the same question to you. Well, this visit, the proposed visit, the 2 days visit of the Union Home Minister is very crucial. Of course, he is visiting also for the affairs of the NEC, the Northeast Council, which is the official purpose of the visit, during which he will have discussions with the stakeholders, various groups, maybe opposition parties, cabinet ministers, pressure groups, NGOs on the ILP issue. Are you also very hopeful about things during the visit? Do you think a solution can be reached at, or there is an apprehension that what will he bring to the table?
Yes, you see, since the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly has unanimously passed the resolution urging the government of India to implement ILP in the state of Meghalaya, the stakeholder, especially the NGO, has not been able to meet the Union Home Minister and also the official from the Home Ministry. So, to any problem, discussion is very important. And it's very, very important that for the Home Ministry and the Union Home Minister to speak it clearly, whether they are willing or not to protect the right and interest of the indigenous people by implement ILP into the state. So we are very hopeful, and we are, as I say time and again, that we are mentally prepared to raise the important issue that why indigenous people in the state of Meghalaya need further protection, especially with CAA came into the pictures and the porous border that we have with Bangladesh and the porous border that Assam has with Bangladesh. Let me clearly say that influx in Meghalaya is also on the factor of Assam porous border with Bangladesh also. So yes, we are positive, and we do hope that the Home Ministry will use the same yardstick to Manipur and Meghalaya, because if they can give to Manipur with an objective to protect the right and interests of the indigenous people in the state of Meghalaya, that same yardstick should be applied into the state of Meghalaya, because both the state belong to the northeast. Both the state has a minority of indigenous people in the context of the national population. So last but not the least, we would like to clarify thing that implementation of ILP is not something that can be considered as anti-India. Every indigenous India is a signatory to the UN RIP. As per the UN RIP, every indigenous people need to be protected, and even if we properly go through the Constitution of India also, it is the right of every indigenous people to protect its own land, language, linguistics. So we hope that the Union Home Ministry will grant ILP into the state of Meghalaya.
Ampareen, lyngdoh, Well, the pressure groups have time and again mentioned, as Robert June Kharjahrin just now once again reiterated, if Manipur, then why not Meghalaya? If Manipur, then why not Meghalaya? What could be the answer from the centre's point of view to this question? If Manipur, why not Meghalaya? Is it because probably Meghalaya has still been easier to handle than Manipur?
In what context?
The pressure groups have maintained that if Manipur has been given the ILP, why not Meghalaya? Why is the centre delaying as far as Meghalaya is concerned? What could possibly be the reason for the centre to keep things on hold as far as Meghalaya is concerned, in your opinion?
Uh, you see, after the Manipur government was allowed to implement the ILP with the central government nod, there seems to be nothing else on the table. Uh, we shared similar situations where there was the important concern that post independent, any act which had been repealed in any part of the country could not, again be considered for the application of an act prior to the independence thing. So that factor, I believe we had something in common with Manipur and with Dimapur of Nagaland. Uh, to me, to me, uh, these questions remained unanswered because when we were in government and when we were appealing to the government of India for the implementation of ILP, it was always that was at the forefront of all discussions. But having allowed the state of Manipur to go ahead with the ILP, despite the other factors that was discussed by Robert June, one of the panelists, there to me there seems to be no other indicator. Probably another unique situation in the state of Meghalaya, to me, could be this this normal area that we have in certain percentages of coverage in the state. I don't know whether any other state shared that with the exception of Dimapur. So again, I have no idea as to why these delays are there. And we also have another very unique situation in the state of Meghalaya where we are a transit state. So when we were in government, those were all the examples cited and those were all the arguments of the government of India. But today we are totally in the dark. Obviously, the opposition is not privy to all conversations that are held in dialogue with the government of India. We also very much just read what newspapers say. Uh, Now, again, when the Honorable Home Minister does come back to visit the state of Meghalaya, the itineraries are still not clear. We don't even know whether we will be called for a discussion or we will be included in dialogues. So, at this point of time, we are relying heavily on all the civil society, NGOs, and stakeholders of the state of Meghalaya to fight this case forward. Because, in all probability, the opposition, which is predominantly only Congress, may not even be invited to these discussions. However, everything that we've had to say and why the Congress has decided to co-sign and be signatory in the resolution was debated adequately and amply on the floor of the House. The situations of this day and age and the current scenario of the CAA makes the ILP all that more valuable for the people of the state of Meghalaya. So, amongst that, we had also deliberated with the government on so many other grounds to ensure that there is clarity and there should be this correction of history which is being projected by the Treasury in that Congress was anti ILP. So, all of those discussions we've had, the public have had ample opportunity to be privy to all of our discussions on the floor of the House. So, at least that record has been set straight.
Well, Sadon Blah, the pressure groups have all along maintained that they will not settle for anything else other than the ILP. That is not even the discussion at all. So what is the room for discussion there? As and when, if you get an appointment with Amit Shah, because for the pressure groups it is clear, no ILP, no rest, no room for discussion whether ILP or not. Maybe what can be the terms and conditions, or what can be the context of the discussion then?
I mean, when we say that a room for discussion, I mean it will be a room for discussion only on the modalities of ILP. I mean, if we say that a kind of discussion which can lead to bargaining, and instead of ILP you take the sixth schedule or otherwise, I mean on that part I strongly hold the opinion that there will be no discussion. But talking about discussion on the modalities of ILP, then we are willing to talk about that.
I'll take reaction on that from Robert June Kharjahrin as well. But before that, we have to go on a very short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Bottom Line. We're discussing the ILP issue in Meghalaya. Robert June Kharjahrin of the CoMSO, as Sadon Blah just mentioned, that the discussions probably can be on the modalities of the ILP. But let's take for instance, let's face it honestly, the centre maybe is dilly-dallying on the ILP issue, which is clear because the resolution was passed over a year ago. Nothing much has happened till now. Nobody still knows what's on the mind of the centre. It's the state government which has been saying that they are on the job. If the Union Home Minister says, for instance, okay, maybe may not ILP, let's strengthen the MRSSA, or let's have something else. Not technically the ILP, let's have something else which also takes care of the concerns regarding to influx. Maybe retain the entry-exit points that are currently there and have something like the MRSSA. It could be anything. These are just assumptions. We don't really know right now. But will that be acceptable? Anything other than the ILP, which probably is as good as ILP as far as tackling influx is concerned, but technically not the ILP.
You see, we have made it our stand very clear that we will not settle anything less than ILP. I can give you 2-3 reasons for that. First, Bengal is in frontier regulation as a law. It's a settled law, and its constitutional validity was already upheld even by the Supreme Court of India. MRSSA, on the other hand, the judicial scrutiny has just begun. There is a PIL file challenging the legal validity of MRSSA. We don't know how will the court give its verdict. I do hope and I believe that the court will uphold MRSSA, but as I say, we don't know what's happening. But on the other side, ILP is clear. Secondly, ILP is needed to ensure that CAA is fully exempted in the state of Meghalaya. That cannot be done through MRSSA because under the CAA, it's mentioned clearly in that clause that ILP state CAA will not be implemented. But we cannot have that with regard to MRSSA. And last but not the least, as we say time and again that ILP has been a demand, it has been an aspiration of the people for a very, very long time. So we do hope that if the union government agree to implement ILP, this will go a long way toward the protection of the indigenous people in the state of Meghalaya. So that's why we are clear on our side that we will prefer ILP. But the scope of discussion, as correctly stated by Sadon Blah, that we will discuss on how how ILP should be implemented in the state of Meghalaya, so that to ensure that it will not affect the tourism sector, it will not affect the people who who just pass through the state of Meghalaya, as Ampareen rightly say. Meghalaya is a transit state, so those kind of modality, those kind of procedure can be discussed, can be considered, but if the opinion is ILP not an issue, then definitely we will not accept it. And with regard to MRSA, we are of the opinion that MRSA is a law passed under the state list. Why should Home Ministry interferes into a law passed by the Meghalaya State Legislative Assembly on its own state list? This precedent is very bad. The State Legislative Assembly has every right to pass a law with its own state list. It is a duty of the governor to abide by the advice of the Council of Ministers. I don't know why should a bill of Meghalaya State Legislative Assembly has to go to Home Ministry. Later on, if this precedent is encouraged, even the budget of Meghalaya will have to go to Finance Ministry. Even law deal with a subject which is not a union list or concurrent list, so it will definitely hamper and violate the federal structure of the Indian Constitution, and it will determine the power and the authority of the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly.
Well, yeah, that is the issue.
But MRSA should not even discuss with the Home Ministry. I am of that opinion.
Yeah, that is the issue, because even that is also related to the federal structure of the country, and that's why it had to go to the Home Ministry. That's another discussion which we can have at some other time. The government did had its reasons for sending it there. Ampareen, Lyngdoh, are you satisfied with the communication of the state government on the matter? Chief Minister Conrad Sangma and his cabinet colleagues have been travelling to Delhi frequently. They have come back always with assurances the centre is looking into the matter. Has the opposition been being kept in the loop? Because opposition also, especially in Meghalaya, where the Congress is still a strong opposition, unlike in other states, it is also very important to keep the opposition in the loop in these things. Has that been happening, or do you find that completely wanting?
There is a complete isolation of the inclusion of the opposition on practically every matter. We are privy to information only when we have access to any information through the media. So, unlike in the past, opposition and political parties were always roped into important discussions in the state. In fact, even in the previous visit of the Honorable Home Minister of the Government of India to the state of Meghalaya, we were never indicated, or there were no indications that we would ever be invited to any dialogues or discussions. So this is again an indicator of the authoritative approach of both the state government and the central government on so many issues. In fact, we have had on almost all occasions to either hit the streets or to either communicate through the media on all of our dissent, on all of the issues that have unfolded in the governance arena. So unlikely that the government will invite even an all political view on this matter. Because ideally, if the Honorable Home Minister of the Government of India is scheduled to revisit the state, particularly to handle this agenda, I would think it would have been in the fitness of things for the government of the day to already have several rounds of discussions with all stakeholders, not just opposition in particular, even the NGOs, even the political parties, because we have had consultations with several forums in the recent past in the state of Meghalaya, where there has been a divergent view on several agendas. We had a parliamentary standing committee visit the state of Meghalaya on the matter of the proposed amendments of the sixth schedule. And when we were in meeting, there were, divergent views, and not everybody seemed to be on the same page that day in that discussion. So I would presume that if the government was serious in its approach to ensuring that the voice of the people be heard and delivered, by now we should have had several rounds of meetings. I don't know whether it is just the opposition that has been left out in the dark. I don't know whether NGOs have been called already, so that everybody is on the same page and everybody speaks the same language to the Honorable Home Minister when a discussion occurs. So, to me, it seems as if even the modalities of an ILP are an important concern. Now, there are many models of the implementation of ILP
And
in the
nobody has
different
still now
states.
spoken about them. Nobody has
No,
still now
we've not
spoken about
had
them.
any discussion. So I don't know whether you're waiting for the government of India to play your role. Because when you do get to that table, it's just a question of presenting the views of the government of Meghalaya, which is inclusive of the voice of all stakeholders. So even that has not happened. So I really don't know, and I'm afraid there could be a different voice, because in that parliamentary standing committee, the invitees in that platform, I think everybody in your panel today were also part of that. It was shocking when some voices raised their opinions on things which were not in line with what everybody was thinking. So this is what I see unfolding, and I'm afraid there could again be invitees to this consultation with the Honorable Home Minister of the Government of India, and he may consider all of those divergent views. And that is when the divide and rule will again occur. So, this is my
Point taken.
anticipation.
Point taken. Robert John Kharjahrin, taking it from there, did you as pressure groups also feel a communication gap? Because, well, we still don't know if at all the centre has expressed any reservations as far as ILP implementation in Meghalaya is concerned, or if the centre has given any reasons on how it wants the ILP implemented. Do you think if at all any such discussions, any such interactions have happened, it should have been made known? But these are again assumptions. As far as the Chief Minister is concerned, he has always briefed after every visit to Delhi. He has tweeted, he has briefed that, okay, this was the part of the discussion today and this is what has happened. But are we to believe then that the centre has really not even touched on the subject matter so far? Because there has been no communication from the centre on the issue, other than the fact that it is looking into the it is examining the resolution, and that now, of course, that Indian Home Minister Amit Shah will be visiting Shillong to discuss the issue.
You see, that is the point of concern, that we want to have a direct interaction with the Honourable Union Home Minister along with the officer of the ministry, because since the assembly passed the resolution, even from CSO, and we have repeatedly write a memorandum to Prime Minister Office, to Home Ministers and to Home Ministry, but there is no reply from the Home Ministry. So what's the detail of discussion between the Home Ministry and the CM? We know only from what the Chief Minister tell through the media. So that's why it's very important that we should meet the Union Home Minister, who are willing to meet and have a proper discussion. And we do hope that with the meeting with the Union Home Minister, thing will become clear.
Absolutely. Sadon Blah, do you think there is enough unity, although there is a lot of politics being played over the ILP? Despite that, do you think there is enough political unity as far as the ILP is concerned among the parties in the state? What is your observation as a member of a pressure group?
Now you see, political parties have their own compulsion. I mean, if they unite because of certain compulsion, and if they are not united, also because of same compulsion. Why I'm saying that is that when the Congress was in power, it clearly stated to us, and it clearly told us that ILP implementation is not in the manifesto of the Congress. But as of now, we see that even the Congress party is on board regarding the issue of ILP, because the resolution that was passed in the Meghalaya Legislative Assembly is an absolute majority. So, coming to this issue of ILP, yes, I would share my opinion. I mean, I would agree that political parties are in unison when it comes to this subject matter of ILP.
Absolutely. I'm running out of time. Robertson Kharjahrin, my last question to you very quickly. Are the pressure groups now, be it the KSU, be it the CoMSO, the FKJGP, the HNYF, all the stakeholders, are you willing to be patient, calm till the visit of Indian Home Minister Amit Shah? What I'm trying to say is that will you see more protests till then, or you are willing to stay put till then and maybe see what transpires from the meeting?
You know, we the pressure group, we did not dictate terms to the public. It was the public who gave us opinion, who gave us advice. And to be very frank, the public are not happy with the situation. So on the last meeting, we have already decided to warn again to intensify the agitation. So we are not going to sit idle on this. We will go ahead with the agitation.
We'll go ahead with the agitation. Thank you so much, Robertson Kharjahrin. Thank you so very much, Ampareen, lyngdoh, for joining us in this discussion. Thank you, Sadon Blah. We all hope that the meeting with the Indian Home Minister is fruitful, but we'll definitely keep a track of all the developments.